Ah, crap. I gotta talk about a show that talks a lot about race relations, and I'm a white guy. Sweet Christmas, the comments. Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. Today we're talking Luke Cage. Ba-dum-boom. Alright, so before I get into it, let me give you my hierarchy of everything Marvel that we've gotten so far this year and how I think they all compare. So at the top of my list, best thing from Marvel so far this year, Captain America Civil War. It was awesome, still awesome, fantastic, can't be beat. Below that, I got Daredevil Season 2. Still great, just fantastic. Civil War was just better. Meh. And we got Agent Carter Season 2. Not quite as good as Season 1, but still great, and I'm really sad they canceled it, and I'm going to miss Haley Atwell. I'm sure I'll see her in other things, but yeah, it's a bit of a bummer. And finally, at the bottom, of course, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3. Still not very good. At least they finally figured out in Season 4 that we want superheroes in our superhero TV show. Wow, 4 years to figure that one out, Marvel. Fucking great. Anyways, that's for another show. So where does Luke Cage stand on this hierarchy? Well, let's talk about it. So now that Marvel's really starting to need to go in a little bit deeper in lore and bring out some characters that aren't really known in the popular culture, as well as even DC's already doing this, I feel it's time I need to talk about backstory of characters, how they were in the comics, before we see them in live action. Unfortunately, I'm a busy guy. I can't do this all the time, so I had to hire out someone to fill in that for me. So please, everyone welcome to give us the history of Luke Cage in the comics. Please welcome the Comic Snob. Oh, hello there. You don't know about Luke Cage? Let me tell you, and let me enlighten you. Luke Cage first appeared in Luke Cage Heroes for Hire #1 in June 1972. He was created by Archie Goodwin and John Romita Sr. He was created to cash in on the blaxploitation craze of the early 70s, but soon dropped out in popularity in 1978 when his initial run was cancelled after 50 issues. He has been teamed up with numerous people, most notably Iron Fist and Jessica Jones, and has numerous attempts to reboot his series since then. The origin of Luke Cage is that Carl Lucas, a young lad growing up in Georgia, was arrested and sent to Seagate Prison, who was then experimented on in many superhuman projects, which gave him his skin. Faking his death, he changed his name to Luke Cage and became a hero for hire. He has been notably teamed up with the Avengers, Heroes for Hire, the Defenders, and Thunderbolts. Now you're enlightened. Aha! Symbolism. Alright, thank you, Snob. I look forward to you doing some more stuff for me. It's a pretty handsome feller. Anyway, so what's the plot of Luke Cage, the Netflix series? Well, after the events of Jessica Jones, Luke Cage decides he needs to get away from Hell's Kitchen, and he moves to Harlem to kind of clear his head and figure some things out. Unfortunately, when he's there, gangs start to rear their ugly head, as well as ghosts from his past show up to haunt him, and he has to deal with all that. That's the very basic plot of the show, and yeah, there you go. So the biggest difference you can tell between Luke Cage and other Netflix shows is that it moved from Hell's Kitchen all the way to Harlem. Wait, zoom in. There you go. All the way to Harlem. You're not as big as you think you are, New York. Quit making us think that. Anyways, so Luke Cage has got a ton of characters. I tried to whittle it down to the most important ones. So here are the characters that we see in Luke Cage. Of course, Mike Coulter reprises his role from Jessica Jones as the titular Luke Cage. And he is fantastic in this role. You can tell he's got a real big heart. He wants to be left alone, but he knows if he can help somebody, he should help somebody. And it's just a greater exploration of what we got in Jessica Jones, which was fantastic. And he just expands on that here. I love everything he does. He uses his catchphrase, "Sweet Christmas," enough to where it's fun, but doesn't run it into the ground. Another thing I really noticed I liked is the way he says his name, Luke Cage, which I don't know if I can get a clip of that or not, but when he says Luke Cage, it's just so cool and so suave when he says it. And I think if you listen very carefully after he says Luke Cage, if you listen really, really carefully, you can hear a woman's panties drop. Guaranteed. But yeah, he's great. Just a strong character, and I really loved him. He made some jokes about how goofy the '70s version is. Some jokes about being called Power Man. He even gets an unofficial nickname, which I love, which I can't even really say. I'll just say they started to call him the bulletproof N-word, and I thought that was great and hilarious. Just to hear people just saying that over and over again. I don't think that'll ever be on the cover of a comic, but it was fantastic. And yeah, he just did a great job, and he's just right up there with your, Matt Murdock and Jessica Jones. Just solid, just really, really did the character a lot of justice and was fantastic. So moving on, you got Simone Missick, I believe how you say it. She plays Misty Knight, who is in the comics as a superhero. In the comics, she's a former cop who loses an arm and becomes a vigilante kind of thing. In this one, she's a detective who helps out Luke Cage and just has a lot of dichotomy going with her, where she has to work within the system but wants to help Luke Cage, but also can't just let Luke Cage do whatever he's going to do. She has to kind of wrangle him in, and she's got her own demons to face. And, she's just dealing with a whole lot of stuff and just does it really well. She's a very engaging, intriguing character, and I love what she did. It was very fantastic. I don't know what else to say. She's just a really well-made character, and just fantastic. I don't know what else to say. She did a really good job. And finally, the last, hero or good guy we can say, and I don't think it's much of a spoiler because it is in the trailer, but Rosario Dawson returns as the night nurse from, Daredevil and Jessica Jones and all that. And they actually call her the night nurse in this one, so I think it is official that she is the night nurse now. There's some debates going back and forth if that's what she really is or if that's just what everyone's calling her, but yeah, she's the night nurse. In this one, she has the biggest role out of all the other Netflix series. She has the most screen time, has the most interactions with Luke Cage, and does a lot of things. She talks about wanting to be a doctor for, specialized humans, things like that. And she did a really good job. The only problem I have with her in this one is they're really building up to a romantic relationship between Luke Cage and Rosario Dawson's night nurse. And no, you can't do that. Luke Cage is supposed to marry Jessica Jones. It happens in the comics, and if he shows up in Defenders and break Jessica Jones' heart, we're going to have words, Luke Cage. We're going to have words. I mean, just do what you do what you're gonna do. It's cool, buddy. So instead of having one villain to carry the whole show, they decided to have a slew of villains. So let me plow through those really quickly. So our first big one we get is Marshala Ali plays Cottonmouth, who's kind of a known Luke Cage villain. You never really see him cotton-mouthing around like in the comics, but they make him more of a mob boss kind of deal. A gang leader and, a powerful guy. He was pretty good, but I did every so often catch myself wondering, why doesn't Luke Cage just bust in and punch him in the face? Like, he has no powers. Why can't we just do that? They tried to do some things to explain why Luke Cage can't do that, but it was a little rough. Along with him, we got Alfre Woodard playing Black Mariah, who's way different from how she appears in the comics. In this one, she plays a dirty politician and does a lot of puppeteering in the background, moving people around, and being controlled on the back end, and kind of a sniving, manipulative person. She does a fantastic job at that. You do kind of love to hate her, but again, I guess Luke Cage wouldn't punch a woman, but man, he should have just punched her in the face numerous times and gotten that over with. Then we got Eric LaRae Harvey, plays Diamondback, who is a arms dealer, dealing a lot of Justin Hammer brand arms, which is kind of a nice little nod to the expanded universe that I really liked. And yeah, he's got it out for Luke Cage. He's specifically just going for Luke Cage, where the other villains were just trying to, do villain things. He is gunning for Luke Cage. And he's a little crazy, but not quite. He's a little off and on. I'm not sure if I liked him or not. He was kind of here or there. I don't know. He was hit or miss. I don't know if he quite grew on me or not. So there you go. And finally, Theo Rossi plays Shades, who took this very minor character from the comics and made him just freaking awesome. You never know what quite he's up to, and he always seems to be in the right place where you need him. You're not sure, what he's thinking or what he's gonna, you're just so intrigued by him. And I thought he just did a really fantastic job of being this, manipulative, like number two to people, but is he really the one in charge kind of thing? And just does a really fantastic job. And he was my favorite villain out of the entire show, and just did a great job of what he was doing. And yeah, he was my favorite. So yeah. So what worked well about Luke Cage? So the first thing I want to talk about is, and it kind of sounds lame coming from a very white guy like me, but Luke Cage is very much a celebration of black culture and black heritage, as well as Harlem itself. And a few times in the show, they called Harlem, a shining light of the black community. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of a cool thing. And yeah, it really just celebrated, black culture and, giving a black hero his due and a lot of things like that. And it was just handled really well and should be applauded for doing that. Without going on too much of a side note and a tangent and blowing up my comments, but a year or two ago when they're talking about recasting Spider-Man as a black man, I was against it, but more for the fact that why turn Spider-Man black when you're not promoting these characters that were written to be black and had black issues and, were always meant to be black, Marvel has a few that they've done in the movies. They got your War Machine, your Falcon, and your Nick Fury, but this is the first one to get his own show, and it really dealt around black problems and black community, and I thought that just handled really well. And I think it's a better way to promote another culture within the comic book community, which is very white, to promote that rather than changing a character's race just to have a black guy. Why don't we just take the black guy who's already awesome and just show him off to people? And Luke Cage really does that, and they did a fantastic job promoting him, and I hope people enjoy this show and realize how awesome Luke Cage is. But yeah, so there's that. The other thing they did really well is they didn't hide from the fact that he is based off a cheesy 1970s character. The show itself is a lot like a dirty street drama from the 70s. Like your Shaft or, things like that. And it's definitely based around that. And you get some hints of some cheesy 70s stuff. You got some 70s, soul and funk and some R&B. You got some hip hop mixed in as well. So you got, that music added in. And just, the shot of how it's in the streets, things like that. As well as, we get to see him in a perfect comic accurate costume for 30 seconds. And he's like, you look like a fool kind of thing. And that was great. It's kind of like how in Jessica Jones, how they made fun of the Jewel costume. And yeah, it was just done really well. And I think it played a lot to its strengths that it didn't shy away from its cheesy source material, but to incorporate that material and modernize it and, make sure this character's shown that way rather than, modernizing it and making everything new, incorporate the fact that it's from the 70s kind of thing. So they did a fantastic job there. And another thing they did that was really good that I liked a lot is he is a hero kind of in the light. So Daredevil, is doing stuff in the shadows, wears a mask, scares villains with fear. Luke Cage is in the open. Everyone knows who he is. He doesn't wear a mask, and he inspires people with hope. And I think that's a good dichotomy to, split him off from other characters, is he's not hiding, he's not in a costume, he's just, protecting Harlem. And it's just handled really well, and I love that they did that to kind of give him a really good, difference between other heroes, is he's the one that's not afraid to be in the light, and he is, the protector of Harlem. But that was something really cool they did, just let him, be in the light, and, just added a lot to the show. So not everything is perfect, and so what doesn't work well about Luke Cage? Well, the same problems I have with almost all Marvel properties as well as the Netflix shows also appear in this one. My biggest being the connections to the wider cinematic universe. I mentioned before they talked a lot about the Justin Hammer guns, so there's the attachment to Iron Man 2, and there's a lot of connection between the other Netflix shows, but to attach to the wider universe, it just seems to be that one connection to the Avengers, and that's it. And I think all the Netflix shows just sort of have that sort of connection to Avengers, but nothing else has happened since then. And this one did a lot better job of trying to do some more of that, but they came really close and just failed. One example would be is they had a dude selling bootleg movies on the street, and he's like, "Oh, I got HD, video from the incident," which is, the Battle of New York kind of thing from the Avengers. But that's all he mentioned, and then he spouted off some of the heroes that were in Avengers. But why couldn't they have just done, oh, I have video from the incident, or I have this crazy stuff from DC, and I got this other thing I just got from Sokovia, and I also got, some footage from when the Hulk ran down Malcolm X Boulevard right behind us here, and, destroyed everything. They could have just added that one little touch to say, like, the other things have happened, and this is where it fits in the universe. It kind of slipped on that. As well as, like I said, the Hulk destroyed Harlem. In the Incredible Hulk, the finale was in Harlem and destroyed it, and even to the point where in the Avengers movie, Mark Ruffalo said,
"Thanks, but the last time I was in New York, I kind of broke Harlem."
So it is canon that the Hulk went through Harlem and destroyed it. There's not one mention of that in this entire 13-hour show, that, the Hulk destroyed Harlem once before. So it's like, why couldn't you just, someone be like, "Hey, remember when the Hulk ran down the street? That was crazy." And that one almost seemed like they purposely went out of their way not to say the Hulk did something. And that was a little frustrating. And then there's no mention of anything from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, which is starting to make the point of watching those completely pointless, that they don't tie into anything, and I should just stop watching them, is apparently what Marvel's telling me. Because, there's a rally at one point where they're talking about people scared of, enhanced humans and people with abilities and powers. And in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, they talked about how everyone was afraid of Inhumans trying to, do that mutant thing. But yeah, everyone's afraid of Inhumans, and everyone called them Inhumans. They all they had to have said is, "We're also afraid of Inhumans" during that rally, just to do that one little attachment, but they just don't. It's like, you got to tie these into the universe a little bit more. I've had discussion with people that aren't quite into it as much, and I had to explain, the Netflix shows are also part of the movies and also part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's all one thing, but they separated themselves so much. There's this big gap between the movies and the Netflix shows and the TV shows that they just need to attach those more. Sorry, that was a big rant, but that is something that they just keep doing, and it's getting frustrating that they just need to connect those a little bit more. All right, and so same with other Netflix shows. This one did feel dragged out a little bit. There was almost like a finale at episode 11, and I'm like, how is there 2 more episodes still left after this? And they seem to build out this little bit of finale to have an even bigger finale at the end, and I just don't think it was worth the wait, and they should have just ended it at 11, and it just feels like they're stretching again to get it to that point. So it's dragged out again, and then along with other Marvel properties, the villains weren't quite as strong, especially if you compare the Netflix villains of, your Hand, your Kingpin, and your Kilgrave, compared to, the slew of villains we get in this one. None of them are as strong as any one of those. Even all together, they're not as strong as just one of those villains. So the villains fall a little flat in this series as well. They're not quite as intimidating, and it's just not quite as fleshed out, I think, as other villains have been. So it's time for spoilers. So let's throw up some signs. Let's talk spoilers. Alright, so Diamondback being his brother was kind of a cool addition, but then the way they ended up playing it out was that he felt like he built this whole empire of gun running based upon just attacking Luke Cage. Like, my brother's so mean, I'm going to get him! And it just felt like that the longer they stretched it out, too. And he just seemed to have that single motivation of getting Luke Cage, but it's like, would you really build up this whole, criminal empire just to get this one guy? And that's where it started to feel like it started to lose me a little bit. And it's just like, he's got to have more motivation than that. And they didn't play him off crazy enough to where you'd be like, oh, he's just really crazy, so that's why he's doing it. They just sort of, just go, oh, he's his brother, and they didn't get along very well. Yeah, that didn't really pan out. That kind of went along with the way it ended. Like I said, they stretched this ending to have an even bigger, finale at the end. But the big finale was just, Luke Cage and then Diamondback, who's in an enhanced suit, just punching in the streets with people surrounding him. And it reminded me of Rocky V. But you never want to remind me of Rocky V. But it just ended up feeling a little weak. Yeah, he got the cool suit to kind of hold his own against, Luke Cage, but it didn't quite fill out. But after the finale, the way they ended the show was fantastic. And that was, you see, Diamondback in the hospital after getting beat by Luke Cage, but the doctor that helped Luke Cage become indestructible, takes it, goes into his room. So you're like, oh crap, what's going to happen to him? Black Mariah is still out on the loose and still a public figure and just didn't have anything bad happen to her. And you're like, oh, what is she up to? And Shades is still out on the loose. And then Luke Cage is being arrested. And it's just like, oh, you had this one little victory and then it all falls apart right away. And I'm just curious how that builds into Defenders or Luke Cage Season 2. That's where it left off really well, and that was a good, taste it left in my mouth at the end. After this kind of little bit of a weak finale, the final bits and pieces at the end of the series were just fantastic and got me really excited. So they did end it on a really good note, which was fantastic. Alright, so this video is going very long. I had a lot to talk about, but let's wrap it up. Luke Cage was fantastic. It's just right up there with all the other Marvel Netflix shows. It's really fun. This one's built more as a show rather than the other ones have been. I said in my Daredevil Season 1 review that Daredevil was a lot like a 13-hour movie. This one feels much more like a Game of Thrones style show where you need to see all the episodes to understand it, but each show has a very direct, beginning, middle, and end, and it feels much more catering to somebody who's going to watch a show one at a time rather than, binge watch them all like crazy people like me would. Although you still can do it and still enjoy it. But I think that worked too well, and it's just a fun show, and if you liked all the other Marvel Netflix shows, you should definitely watch this one. And I'm really glad Marvel's getting, some color in their palette and celebrating minorities and celebrating the black community. I know that's lame coming from someone as white and lame as me, but yeah, it's just fantastic. My regular rating system doesn't work on this, but I'd say, watch this show. You're going to love it. It's fantastic, and I can't wait to see more Luke Cage. So join me next time. I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Hold on to your hold slot.